Welcome back to Livie's Lovelies, your inspirational craft channel, and I'm your host, Fam the Fabulous. For more ideas, inspiration, swaps, and challenges, click the link in the description below to join our craft community, the Maker Exchange, on Facebook. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back, all my artists, creatives, crafters, and makers. Welcome back to the Lovely Lab. All right, so this is what I will be attempting to create. Well, I'm going to work on this, which is the wall decor that I picked up from the Dollar Tree. And this will be the second Dollar Tree project that I create for the Dollar Tree Challenge, the Fall Dollar Tree Challenge. And if you remember from the last video, it's a few of us that have collaborated to work on these and to challenge ourselves to do something a little different, a little out of the box, out of our comfort zones. And while I am no stranger to upcycling and repurposing, I haven't done a whole lot of mixed media, especially not on camera. So I'm going to challenge myself to use a variety of different products. But as you know, the challenge is to use 3 Dollar Tree products. Now they can be products that you currently own, or buy one staple piece and then add a couple from your own stash. So for me, I am going to use this. I'm also going to attempt to use this, and I have no idea what the third one is going to be. It may be some type of an embellishment, some pearls, flatback pearls, or a sticker. I don't know, but we'll figure that out as we move along. But so far we got 2. Now, the first thing that I plan to do is to go over it with some acrylic gesso, just so that whatever I lay on top of it doesn't start seeping into the wood. And now, if you have acrylic paint, it'll serve the same purpose, but you just want to make sure that when you go lay down your glue or whatever you put on top of it, that you're not laying it down on top of the raw wood, because it just absorbs so much more. So I'm going to go ahead and use the gesso just to create a seal and a base for whatever I lay on top of it. Oh, I could have mixed that up. That's a little watery up top. I guess I should have shook that. Maybe I should. I'm going to leave that out, because nobody likes watery gesso. Or do they? All right, let me close that up. Shake that up real good. Give me a second. I hope everyone is doing okay. And if you would like to participate in this challenge, go ahead, do so. You're welcome to put it up on your channel using hashtag DT Challenge, DT Fall Challenge 21. So that's the letter D, the letter T, Fall Challenge 21. Okay, for the year, obviously. Okay, so let me just get this off of here. Might be all I need. And this is just some ugly scrapbook paper that I inherited when I purchased or got a lot, some thrift store paper. So I'm just going to craft on top of it, and when I'm done, look at the results and see if I can use it for something else. Waste not, want not. And remember, there are a couple other ladies, and I'll try and drop links to their channels or their videos in the description box below if you want to head over and take a look and see what they got going on. Now, most of us are in the paper crafting, community here on YouTube. Junk journaling. So I believe it's Sonia from Multimedia Digital Crafts, and her channel is Sonia Stover. And then we have Felicia of Where Baking and Crafting Meets. And then Bev, if most of you may know of Facebook group Bev's Craft, the Craft Palettes with Bev, or her channel is now newly named The Paper Diva. So if I can, I will definitely drop links below to their channel, if not to any of the Dollar Tree Challenge videos, if they have them up at the current moment. So my thought was, seeing how I did not use the music note paper that I had intended to use in my previous challenge video when I made the cards, that I perhaps could go ahead and use it in this one, on this project. I gotta remember to open that hole back up. I'm not really concerned with whether or not the back gets paint, because this is going to go on, as you know it, a wall. It's not like it's a necklace. It's not going to be dangling from my neck, flipping and turning. No one's going to see the back, unless they're uber nosy and have to flip it over because they want to see what store it came from. Oh, how do I know that people do that? Am I telling them myself? Just kidding. I'm not that nosy. I ain't got that kind of time. All right, so now this item I will not be doing a giveaway on, simply because the shipping on it will be bananas, but I will be hanging it in my home, so I will be the winner of the non-existent giveaway. Give me a second. I want to wash my hands, and then I'm going to start prepping the next step. Okay, so for the next part, what I'm going to do, instead of the music paper, I'm going to use the vintage book pages. And I can't remember what year this book is, but it's called Harvard Classic English Poetry, the 5-foot shelf of books. So I'm just using that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to begin to tear it so that I can layer it. It's very fragile. Book pages are very fragile. Oh, I probably should have did that differently. So I'm just going to tear up a few, making sure that I get plenty of the wording and not so much of the side. I probably should have put something down first, but we'll see how this goes. I don't think it's going to matter, because I'm actually going to add some vintage collage medium on top of it. Okay. All right, so I'm going to use the clear gesso for this part. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put some music on, let you guys watch me make a mess. Let me see if I got some plastic. Good enough. Okay, so this is where we are now. After it's dried, I let it dry overnight. And what I did from there was I took a nail file, just a regular emery board, and I went around the edges, like you see here. I just went around the edges and sanded off the pieces that were that were hanging over. Now you want to do that before you start putting any additional coats on, so that it's not as hard. If you put in paints or acrylics or anything like that on the top of here, it'll definitely be harder to do once you apply those additional coats. So once you got the paper on there and it dries well, you probably can do it while it's wet, but it does have a tendency to slide off the page, slide off of the wood. So you don't necessarily want to mess with it too tight while it's wet. So I'm going to finish this up, and then we'll come back to decide what we're going to do with it next, because at this point, I do not know what I want to do. Okay. I think that's pretty much it. Now, what you guys are getting ready to see is me just experiment with some finishes, because what I don't want to do is apply my mediums on top of this and not like what it comes out looking like, you know. So I'm just going to break this in half, and on top of that is already the acrylic gesso. So let me get that so I can have the same effect. And I'm going to put this on both pieces of paper. I mean, I could always make the mistake, and then try and fix it. But I'm not up for that this time. But I'm just letting you come along while I experiment, so you will have an idea of how I get to get the results that I get. Because some things simply are trial and error. There's just no way of knowing how everything is going to react with another product. I've never used distress collage medium on top of clear gesso. So this is just a great way to make that happen, or figure that out, I should say. Okay, one moment. I'm going to go get this dried, and then I'll come back and put the distress collage, the vintage collage medium on top of it. Okay, so that's dry. Okay, so that's dry. I'm just going to take some of and put it on top. And really what I want, thank you, baby. And really what I want to see is, once this is dry, I may put another coat on top of it. I'll probably do half of this one, so I can leave it. I just want to see what it's going to look like once I start layering things on top of it. So this is just serving as a duplicate of what we have over there, minus the layers of paper. Yeah, it's just one layer, obviously. So hold on, I'm going to dry this. All right, so that's coat number one. Let's go with coat number two and see how dark it's going to be. Because my intention is to use the Dollar Tree ribbon on top of this. Okay, so I just want to see which one it will be more visible on top of, the lighter vintage or the darker vintage. So we'll see. This is coat number two. One moment, stay tuned. Okay, so this is the difference that we have between the one coat and the two coats. Okay, and then if we put the gold on top of this one, this is what we get. If we put it on top of this one, this is what we get. So I think one coat will be best, because there's more contrast between the gold and the vintage. Now the next thing I want to do is test on here, the blank side, how it's impacted by matte medium. I need to see how this is gonna, if matte medium will be able to seal it and then put a coat of this on top of it. Because I don't want this coming off, as it may very well be on my front door, or who knows what part of the home it may be on. And I might give it to my dad. So I just want to make sure I can seal that paper in properly. I know it's has the acrylic gesso, the clear gesso underneath, but I need to see if the matte medium will lock everything in place and also allow for me to use the collage medium on top of it. So this is what I am going to apply on here. Let me get this color off. Let me take some of these scraps and just lay it on it, just so I can get a similar effect of the layering that we did. Now, of course, I could always do trial and error, you know, baptism by fire, but I'm not going back to the Dollar Tree to get another one in the event that I mess this up. So this is what we're gonna do. Okay. All right. All right. So I'm gonna dry this and I'll come back. Okay. So I went ahead and dried that. But one thing I want to caution you is, if you're working with anything that has an acrylic base or acrylic in it, be careful of the heat that you apply. Now, it didn't happen on here, but I remember the last time I did a journal, and I was trying to get the cover to dry quickly, and I put the heat gun a little too close, and it bubbled it. Now, if you're going for that look, that's perfectly fine, but at that particular moment, I was not. So it kind of messed up a little bit. I camouflaged it, but that's just word to the wise. Just put them a little. Okay, so we've determined that so I put this down to see how the matte medium would work on top of the acrylic gesso, which is what's underneath here. So we got a sealant. Now I need to see how the one coat of collage medium will work on top of here, because I don't know how they're going to react together. So it's best to try it on something that I'm not going to use, which I may end up using. Who knows? You know how we do. Okay, so there. Okay, so I have went ahead and dried that, and then the last thing I want to do is see how I can seal on top of the Distress collage medium, because I really don't know. Or is that a sealant of its own? It says it's a tinted gel medium ideal for gluing, layering, and sealing mixed media projects. So actually, this is a sealant. So this acts as a sealant. So had I read that first, I wouldn't have to worry. But nevertheless, we saw that you can put underneath it clear gesso or the matte medium. In this case, the matte medium's on that side. But to prevent you from... This is good if you want to go on top of something, or if you don't mind the papers going really dark as you're layering pieces. Because if you use the Distress collage medium, you know, let's just say you take a piece and you rip it and you put it on there, or, you know, whatever piece, and collage on top of that. You get the next piece and you collage on top of it. At some point, you're going to have layers of the Distress collage, the pigment or the the color, the tint, is going to be darker in some areas. And if that's what you're going for, that's fine. But if you want just one layer of the tint, then it's best to use a clear medium to layer it down and to glue it down, and then come on top with this. So that is in fact what I am going to do. So now that we know that you can use it as a sealant, we also determined that 2 coats is not ideal for what we're going for. Should I say what I'm going for? We can proceed forward, and I probably will use those pieces of paper in another craft. Okay, so forging ahead we go. I'm going to spread that kind of thin because I don't want it too dark. I'm going to keep that in mind. And I still have to figure out what kind of bow I want to go on this to make it just super special, and whether or not I want a focal on here, or if I just want it to be, or if I want letters on it. You know, I have to figure out the design elements of it, the embellishing of it all, which we all have all of those elements at home. A little lace or crochet trim or whatever the case might be. And worst case scenario, they have all of that at the Dollar Tree. Push comes shove, you know. Okay, I'm going to let this be for now. What I'll do is, once this dries fully, I'm going to come back in with a smaller paintbrush and go around the edges and get it. But what I don't want is to monkey around too much with it as it is while it needs to dry. Because who knows what'll happen. It's just my luck. It start going crazy. All right, so I'm going to actually I'm going to start this off, the drying process off with heat gun just a little bit, just to get the drying to start. But I'm going to let it sit so it can dry fully without having to worry about it buckling or what have you. So stay tuned. Stay tuned. Okay, so the last time we were together, I had put down 1 coat of the Tim Holtz Distress Collage Medium Vintage on here, and since then I went around the edges with a small paintbrush, just to make sure that it was no bright white sticking out. Okay, so in the meantime, I was rifling through my stash and came across some of these typewriter style wooden letters. So I got enough to put the word gather across the front, which I'll be doing. And so once I realized that I had these, and I put these on here just to see what it would look like, I realized that the light color of these wooden letters presented a great opportunity for some contrast. So I think what I'm going to do at this point is one, darken the background with one more coat of the collage medium, okay, so that we can get it a little bit darker. I think we've shown, now let's see if you can see this. This dark part right here is the two coats. It's just it's a shame I went over this with a coat of the, what is this, the metallic luster. I just wanted to see how that will work out, and we'll see if that's something that we can implement later on down the line. But nevertheless, I would like to take this one shade darker so that we can have these in this tone, which I'll have to seal with maybe a high gloss Mod Podge. I have that, so that it keeps its color. And then once the background is darker, it'll create a nice contrast. In addition to that, I would like to use this stencil here, and you probably can't see it that well. Let me see if I can get, so this one right here, okay, there you can see it, and it's more of a, it's kind of an animal print, you know, but it's not so zebra or cheetah, which I don't have a problem with, but for the sake of what we're doing here, I thought it would be best to, you know, not go to, you know, animal kingdom on us. Okay, so it's actually this pattern here. So that is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to use the, I believe, I'm either going to use this modeling paste here by Master's Touch, or I'm going to use the Artist Loft acrylic one. But I'm looking to make sure that whichever one I use is porous, because the Tim Holtz Distress Collage Medium, it's not, and it does resist a lot of the inks that I have. Like the water-based inks, those don't penetrate, which I'm perfectly fine with. Because if I stencil on top of here with the modeling paste and I put an ink down that I can wipe off of here, it'll still penetrate into the modeling paste. So I'll get some texture there and some dimension. Yes, dimension. I was just thinking to myself, do I want dementia or do I want dimension? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, the irony of me trying to figure out if I'm trying to think of dementia or dimension. Anywho, so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to turn the camera off for just a second, put the second coat down so that when I come back, we can move on to these letters and the stenciling, okay? Stay tuned. Okay, so I finished the second coat, let that dry. While I was waiting for that to dry, I went on ahead and grabbed some couple of the extra letters out of the pack, and I used, I wanted to see how the metallic luster would be, how it would look on these letters. So on this one, I used the Tim Holtz Distress collage medium underneath, and this one's, I don't have anything underneath it. It's just the metallic luster. As you can see, there's a little slight difference in the color, and then there's also less of texture on this one than there is on that one. So that's the Tim Holtz collage medium, the vintage, and that one is just with the metallic luster. And the metallic luster probably absorbed into some of the wood a little bit better, creating more of that texture, more of that dimension, fine dimension. So I think I'm going to go with this one. And I originally thought that I wanted to just keep them plain, but this is what I would get, which isn't bad. You know, it's not bad. But I think this would be better. That's just my opinion. So that's what we're probably going to be working with. I think that's a little bit better. And then the last thing I'll do is ink the edges just a little bit, or maybe apply a little bit more collage medium just to give some outline to it. Either or, I'm not sure which one I'll do, but based on which one will, because with the distress ink, it may or may not be able to sit on top of the collage medium. So I may have to just go a little bit darker with the collage medium, applying a feather some more along the edges so I can get some more an outline for it. Hope that makes sense. So anyway, so that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to come back and I'll show you that. Okay? Stay tuned. Okay, so that coating around the edge dried, and as you can see, well, you probably can't see, but it doesn't add that much difference. So what I did was, and I'm going to do it around the whole thing, is I'm going to take the Distress ink and just go around the edges so that, and prayerfully it won't come off. But we're working with what we got here, okay, folks? We're working with what we got. So I'm thinking that this might add just a little bit more variation of shading. Nothing, dramatic, not like a dark marker or anything like that, but just, just some fading. And I'm just using a makeup sponge that I got from, I want to say Dollar General. It came in a pack of 3 or 5 or something like that. And it's a lot easier than using the blending brush. The blending brush gets caught up on all these little edges of the wood, so I don't use it for that. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to slap some music over it, just a couple, you're only going to see a couple minutes of it, but I am going to go and let me just make sure I like the differences that I'm seeing here. I'm just going to look into the camera, look into my eyes. Yeah, I like teal anyway, so we're going to go with the teal. We are going to go with the teal, and I'm going to go forth and just paint all of these, the wooden wooden letters, excuse me, with the metallic luster. And yeah, that'll be cute. What does it say? Gather? Yeah. Gather. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and paint these, and we'll be back to decide what is going to be next. One thing I think I need to do is locate some fabric in my home that I can create some form of a bow with that will hang from the top of the sleeve. So it'll have a loop here. And then I'll attach the bow to the loop so that it hangs here, but not in front of that. So I love how this came out. And I love how warm the brown is too. Yeah. That was a good decision. Okay. Move that out the way. All right, folks. Up next, painting. Stay tuned.
If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Hit subscribe to join the crafty community and be sure to click the bell for notifications of new uploads. Thank you so much for watching. Now stay tuned for more from Livie's Lovelies, your inspirational craft channel. Bye for now.